Hey y'all, it's Brijin, the Museum Stitcher, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome for the first time if you're new here. This is my corner of the internet where I talk about my crafting life, mostly about cross stitch. And I know that there's a lot of you who have started watching my channel fairly recently and haven't seen me talk about anything but cross stitch, and that is about to change today. Because I have actually done a little bit of my other main hobbies, which are knitting and quilting. So there'll be a little bit of that in today's episode, along with some great new cross stitch starts and also some book talk. I have read 11 or 12 books since I have chatted with you last. Wild. I don't know how it happened, but it did. So there's also going to be a pretty great book talk section today. And I am super excited to get into it. So today is April 25th, Sunday of 2023. I am chilling out, having a margarita, so cheers. That is a me-made invention, like a pomegranate margarita, and it is very good so far. So we're just gonna chit-chat about some cross-stitch, some crafty things. Nothing really big life event has happened since I talked with you last, so all is quiet on the personal front. I am just kind of enjoying making a whole lot of cross-stitch plans and a whole lot of starts and kind of getting everything organized and spring together situations. So we're trying out another new filming location today. I finally got around to cleaning up my sewing table. So that's my sewing machine and my serger and like my pegboard with all of my sewing tools. So we're gonna try sitting over here today and see how that works. It has made Fergus a little bit more interested, my cat. So yeah, so that's what we're doing today. Got also some more haul-in plans, which are great. My plans are a little bit more concrete this time around, which is fantastic. And I'm feeling good, just ready to talk crafting with you guys. I did want to remind you before we get into the crafty things that my coupon code with Adam Hart Cross Stitch is still live. So if you've been interested in trying out some Adam Hart floss drops or floss bobbins, you can get 15% off with code MUSEUM15. It's not an affiliate link. I don't get anything from the code. It's just a little treat for you guys, and that runs through September 1st. So thought I would do a quick reminder about that, and let's get into it. Okay, so I didn't actually work on any whips this week. I only worked on new starts, so we can chat about those first. So this project is hilarious to me because I changed my mind so fast about it. So this is the Greenhouse of Oddities Stitch Along by Lola Cross Stitch. I started this last Friday, which was April 15th, or last Saturday, April 15th, sorry. And I went fully from thinking I was not going to participate in this stitch along. I am doing Haunted Library. I have not fully caught up on that project yet. But Greenhouse of Oddities didn't quite seem as related to me as, I'll throw a picture of what Haunted Library looks like here in case you're not familiar with it. But I mean, it was bookish, and that I love stitching bookish cross stitches. And this one was really fun. I didn't think I was going to participate in this one because again, it just wasn't as much my jam. So she released the frame for this on April 14th, and I immediately went from the span of not thinking I was going to stitch it to having it fully kitted up in one day. So I blame Cam the Stitcher because she brought it up in the group chat, and then all of my friends are stitching it and I was gonna have FOMO, so here we are. But I am doing mine on a 40 count dovetail linen from Forbidden Fiber Company, which isn't she gorgeous? Isn't it beautiful? So this is, yeah, Greenhouse Oddities. There are about 30 called for flosses, all DMC for this one. So it is a pretty beefy floss ring with my Adam Hart cross stitch thread hearts. But the good news is a lot of these same flosses are called for in the Haunted Library. So if you are doing Haunted Library, you already got a good chunk of these. You'll just have to buy a couple. But this is sitting at about 1,400 stitches. So about 25% complete. This frame has about 6,000 stitches, 3,000 of which are DMC 310. So really all you need to get started is DMC 310, and then you can work your way out. I believe we have about 6 weeks to finish up the frame on this one, until May 24th or 25th is when she will start releasing the first animals. But this has been really, really fun so far. Of course, I am really bad without my binder clips on my design board. But basically, when you get the information for the stitch along, she also includes kind of the botanical information about the animals or the plants that are in that section. So there's information on the crows, and there's some tree frogs, and I think there's a little like mole in there. But yeah, I wanted my fabric to be kind of like a dreary, haunted Victorian morning, and I think that's definitely what I got. This dovetail linen is gorgeous, and I have been trying to find something to stitch on this fabric for forever. So it felt really good to be able to use some stash fabric to get this down. Bring you in a little closer. And needle minder is from Fangirl Fibers. It's actually an Outlander needle minder for Dragonfly and Amber, but I figured the Dragonfly fit with the botanical nature of this one. And then I have that in the project bag you saw earlier, which is from Little Boat 88. So I worked on that pretty exclusively for a few days. I think I worked on this from the Saturday that I started it through the Monday after. So probably about 4 to 5 days of stitching. So I'm really off to a good start. Again, I said there's 6,000 stitches in this first part. So I figured I am pretty good if I do about 1,000 stitches a week. And I am on track with that. So I'll probably be working on that a little bit here and there, just to get it filled in and to get it close to a finish, because the Lola Crow cross stitch projects really are extremely manageable to keep up with once you've done the frame. And that was probably my downfall with Haunted Library, and why it's not finished is because I didn't actually start that until like part 7 was released. So I was just hopelessly behind on that one, and I didn't have a chance to catch up. Okay. So my only other new start and only other cross stitch project that I worked on in the last 2 weeks since I talked to you last is Rose Quaker by, I want to say it's Weinberg online. It's either a German or a Dutch designer. I am not sure. But this was a SAL that I started because my friend Megan Babauta, the Seattle Stitcher, who is an amazing human, is stitching this one. And she posted a picture about it, sent it to our chat and everything, and I just fell in love with it so fast. And Megan is now, I believe, the only one doing it as called for. I was originally doing this as called for. I had it on my floss drops and everything, and the night that I started it, inspiration struck and I moved in a wildly different direction. So you guys have just seen the cover image. Well, as I was putting the first stitches in on mine, I have been somewhat in a Taylor Swift coma or Taylor Swift hangover from the Eras concert, and I have just been like loving all things Eras, all things Taylor as usual. But I wanted another piece besides my Meet Me at Midnight that I finished from Frizzy Lizzy Stitches to kind of commemorate the concert and kind of the mood that I'm in right now. So I thought, what if I converted the 16 DMC colors in Rose Quaker to the 10 Taylor Swift Eras colors and made it the Eras Quaker. And I mocked it up in Markup RX, and it looked really cool. So I went through and kind of toyed with it until I was happy with the conversion. So shout out to my friend Hannah of Hannah's Horror Corner for helping me pick my DMCs and to get everything together. And this is what the mock-up of this will look like when it's all done. It was quite the process narrowing down the 16 colors just to 10, but the good thing about this piece is there are a lot of instances where one color is only used in one motif near the bottom of the piece. So I was able to kind of combine it and it doesn't feel like I've lost anything. But my new colors are really fun. So let me show you my floss ring before I show you where I've gotten to with this one. But this is my floss ring. So let me get them in era order. These are some older Adam Hart thread hearts in a like blue confetti color. I don't think she makes them anymore. But for my colors, I went with 563 for debut. It's a more teal toned light green. 3852 is my Fearless Gold. 34 is my Speak Now purple. And I know that a lot of people use lavender for Speak Now, but I prefer the more magenta from the actual like official Speak Now. And then for my red era, I have 816. 3766 is my light blue for $19.89. Reputation is obviously $3.10. Lover is $6.02, hot pink. $169 is my folklore gray. I was toying with $9.18, but I officially decided on $38.57 as my Evermore dark warm brown rust. And then $3.36 is my Midnight's blue. So that is the full conversion. That's what it's going to look like when it's all put together. And I kept the same fabric, which is 46 count Renaissance by Color and Cotton. And I started this on April 17th, so just a few days ago. And I've been working on it probably for about 3 days, and this is where I've gotten to. So let me check some stats on this one. Okay, so this is 986 stitches in, which is about 3.6% complete. And I have done this motif in the red. This is Midnight's, Reputation, and I'm working on this Fearless motif that is taking forever. And yeah, it's been really fun to kind of see it. This is one of those things that it's not going to look 100% right until it's further along. I know this motif that's down here is the folklore gray, and the one over here is the Lover hot pink, which I'm super excited to get to. So it's just been super fun. It's a really crazy twist. If you are interested in seeing it stitched in the called for colors, I know a few people are participating with that, including Megan herself. I think also Clancy's X Stitch is working on Rose Quaker in the called for colors. And I know a few other people are interested in starting it. Cam is doing a conversion that is more, it's a Color and Cotton conversion, but it's based on the original colors with the exception of a few greens. And then Marjorie is also doing a Stash Fancy Floss conversion. So if you're interested in seeing other conversions that aren't so crazy different, there are definitely people doing it. Mine is absolutely nothing like the original, but it is really fun. And it's on a 46 count, so the stitches are super small. But I do love the coverage I get on a 46 count linen, which is why I switched my Color and Cotton Fabric of the Month over to that size. I just think this is really fun, and it's a neat way to keep the Eras experience alive, in my opinion. So that one's fun. And that is all of the cross-stitch projects that I worked on. I do have some cross-stitch haul and some plans information, some upcoming stitch-alongs that I wanted to tell you guys about, so stick around for that. And then we'll talk knitting and quilting and books. So let me tell you, my first one has nothing to do with anyone. This is just me. I have really been wanting to start one of my market picks. And the one that I felt the most pull towards is Spring Moon by Plum Street Samplers. And I originally grabbed this so I could participate in the Best Bunnies SAL, which is going on. It's being hosted by Katie, the novel stitcher. And Katie's actually finished the SAL. I have not even started it yet, but I did get it fully kitted up. So let me tell you about my thoughts on this one. So I got all of the called for colors, and then I was trying to pick a linen. And my original idea was to do this on something kind of like a dusky purple shade, right? So I did a floss toss, and I wasn't loving it. There was something that wasn't working when I, did the floss toss, laid everything out, got it all together. So these are on some copper ink thread hearts from Adam Hart Cross Stitch. So these were the two linens that I've pulled. This is some 40 count old linen from XG Designs, super gorgeous. And this looks good with the called for colors, but this is the oyster shell. So this is that like dusky gray purple that I originally wanted to do the sampler on. I think it's very pretty, but when I laid out the flosses, something wasn't working. And that something is this used brick from Classic Colorworks. It just clashes with the purple. So my idea, this is only used a few places in the pattern, like on the inside of flower petals, was to pull it out and replace it with one of these three colors, which are much more like deep, moody purple magentas. So this is Forbidden Fiber Holly Holy, Forbidden Fiber Nightlock, and then Color and Cotton Apple Picking, which is actually like a perfect combination of the two Forbidden Fibers. But pulling that with there, taking out this used brick completely and doing it on the purple fabric. So let me know what you guys think. I'll show you the floss toss on the XG Designs. Very pretty. I don't think I could go wrong either way. The white stitches are still going to show up on both of those linens. But if you have strong opinions, let me know. I am personally leaning towards doing the oyster shell with the purple floss, but I'd still need to pick which purple floss I would switch to. Okay, so that is some plans that don't have anything to do with anyone, but I do have some plans that involve some friends, so let me show you that. So first up, I am starting this actually right when I get off of this video, so this is almost a new start, but this is Gentle Rain by the Blue Flower. I am starting this with my Flosstube friends, Caitlin of Cross Stitch Kate and Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher, which both of them have freaking awesome channels. Go check them out, send them some love. Caitlin actually already has started this project. It was a whip before I had the idea to ask them to do a SAL or whatever. And hers looks amazing. She's doing it on the called for fabric and it's gorgeous. And she keeps posting about it, which made me want to get it. So I got it and then Lauren got it. And then I was like, let's just SAL it. So we're stitching it along together. So if you've got this one as a whip or a new start, whatever have you. But I am doing mine on some Picture This Plus truffle, which this fabric is a little bit more pink in person. It never photographs right. My friend Megan is actually using this fabric on Summer Quakers by Rosewood Manor, and she also had similar problems with it just never photographing right. And then I have all of the called for DMC and Fancy Floss, and I think it is going to look gorgeous on this. I am super excited to get this going as soon as I hop off with you guys. But the exciting thing about this project, in addition to the stitch along, which is going to be the hashtag Gentle Rain SAL, so join us if you want to, is I am keeping this in a new project bag. This was actually a gift from my friend Alexis of Alexis_My_Amazing_World. She sent this to me for my birthday, and she knows how much I love cats. So she sent me this really adorable cat cross stitch bag, which I thought was perfect for this Gentle Rain SAL because it's covered in animals, like a lot of the Blue Flowers designs are. It's got this fun paw prints and the red zipper, and then just look at the little kitties. I love you, Alexis. Thank you. And her project bags are really big too. Like I think I could get a Q-snap in there, which is super exciting. So that SAL is happening later today, but it's just a start along. There's no hard dates, no nothing. So if you have Gentle Rain or you've wanted to do Gentle Rain, here's an excuse, which I'm really good about providing. Alexis also sent me some Bestitch Me Verdal and this really fun hexagon shaped project keeper, which actually perfectly fits my Morgan hoop. So I need to find a project that is little that will fit in here, but is really fun and it's a really interesting construction. So shout out to Alexis. Thank you, girl. It was an amazing birthday present that you did not have to send me. Okay, and then I got a project bag from Jasmine Custom Bags, who just started a Flosstube, and I haven't watched it yet, but I'm really, really excited to because she is awesome. Her bags are the best, and this one I bought because it popped up on my Instagram feed and she only had one left, and it had to come home with me, but I didn't know she actually made little bags. So this is just, I only ever bought her big project bags that fit an 11 by 11 Q-snap, but this is her bag sized for an 8 by 8. It's so cute. Now tell me I didn't have to get this. You can't. It is black tooled leather vinyl with this gorgeous like haunted pumpkin, the pumpkin zipper charms. Here's her little logo. She is amazing. Her bags are so good. And then the interior is this awesome kind of grungy bright orange. So I am going to transfer my Haunted Library by Lola Crow over into this bag because I have really only been stitching on that in my Morgan hoop, and this will hold my Morgan hoop perfectly. But her project bags are great. They've got another little pocket on the front for your like scissors so they don't get tangled with the rest of your project. I also put my orts in that, your odd and end threads that you snip off in that pocket, and it keeps them organized. So thank you, Jen, over at Jasmine Custom Bags. I love it, and I buy her bags all the time. They're so good. I actually really need to order like a work tote from her because she makes gorgeous, gorgeous bags that aren't just project bags. So that's that. Grab a sip of my drink. Also, shout out to Katie, the novel stitcher. She sent me a pattern. This is Books and Cats by Puntini, and I forgot where I actually put my copy. It's somewhere so I can kit it up. But she recently finished this pattern and reached out and asked if I would like it. So she sent it over to me and I got it and I love it. I am going to be stitching this rather shortly here, and then I think it would just be fun to continue to pass the pattern. So this will kind of be a musical pattern that once I'm done stitching it, I will pass it on to someone else who likes books and cats. So another upcoming SAL that I forgot to mention is the Vanity Sampler SAL. So this is going to be #goth Vanity Sampler SAL. My friend Cam the Stitcher, has done a color conversion on Liz Mathews' Vanity Sampler from Market this year. And I went on and grabbed the PDF of the chart. I was waiting for the PDF to come out before I purchased this pattern. And the original is gorgeous. Here is a mock-up in markup of what the original pattern looks like. And then I mocked up Cam's conversion because she had just kind of like roughly chosen colors and hadn't really committed 100% to what it was going to look like. And so my thing that I was really excited about when the PDF dropped was getting to see the conversion like actually ready to go. And this is what it looks like. So this is Cam's color conversion. I'm sure if you message her on Instagram, she will send it over to you. But I'm going to be doing this color conversion, as will Megan, the Seattle Stitcher, and Marjorie of Marjorie Made. And so it's going to be really, really fun. We'll be starting that around May 20th. So you have plenty of time to get your DMC. It's only a few DMC colors too. So this chart is super easy. I'm going to be doing mine, I think, on some flannel flower by Fox and Rabbit with Cam's DMC conversion. It's going to be really, really fun. So if you love Vanity Sampler and you also love deep pinks and like blues and plums, and it's a great conversion. The colors are gorgeous. This is what it's gonna look like. So rather big girl sampler happening at the end of this month. But those are the like 3 or 4 SALs that I am really focusing on. So it's a time for new starts and a time to just focus on those. I'm not even going to worry about my whips for the next month. For the month of May, I am going to be doing no new starts aside from the Carolyn Manning and the Vanity Sampler. And I'm also probably going to put myself on a bit of a no-buy, considering we've got about 1 more month until StitchCon, and so I'm going to be saving up to get some patterns or whatever at StitchCon when I'm there. I don't think I'm going to go crazy shopping because I have a pretty good cross-stitch stash that I am happy with, but I might pick one pattern to kit up while I'm there, just for the fun of it, you know what I mean? So probably going to be on that. Again, no new starts except for Carolyn Manning and Vanity Sampler, and then a bit of a no-buy. So if you'd like to join me in that, let me know. It might help keep me accountable if somebody else wants to do it. I know I was talking with Lauren, the New Hampshire Stitcher, about it, and she might also be doing a no-buy for the month of May. Oh, aside from Lauren actually is doing a conversion with Roxy Flossco flosses, which are available from Evertote in Canada, and she is doing a conversion for, I think it's called the Garden Side Sampler. No, that's a Liz Mathews pattern. Garden Sampler from Carriage House Samplings. I'll throw a picture of it here. But the Roxy Flossco flosses are gorgeous, and that just looks like a really fun summer pattern that might be a great start for June and July. So I might be grabbing that at the start of May, but that will be it. That will be the only thing I will be buying, is the floss conversion for that. So that's a little bit more about my May plans. Okay, so let's talk a little bit of knitting and quilting, and then we'll get into the books of it all. So if you are only here for cross stitch, thank you for joining me today. This is your cue to exit the video. Or if you just wanted cross stitch and books, you can feel free to skip towards the end of the video. Knitting and quilting shouldn't take too long, but it is kind of fun. So if you are someone who likes doing a lot of different crafts, this is definitely the section for you. So knitting. I haven't knit in a very long time, but I felt the drive to pull it out. I really like knitting specifically for pulling out in between my cross stitch projects, because sometimes I cross stitch so much that I actually hurt my hands. And so I find that if I do a little bit of knitting in between cross stitching, my hand health is better. And so I am knitting a ranunculus sweater by Midori Hirose. This is my first ever knit garment. And I am knitting it for my mom in this gorgeous Knitting for Olive merino and mohair in the color Plum Rose. My mom has very olive tone skin that I don't have. I did not get her skin tone. And so this is going to be gorgeous on her. But this is what it looks like. I don't have a picture of what it looked like last time that you guys saw this sweater, but I do have a project marker. So that marker up there in the yoke is where I was the last time you saw it. So since you've seen it, I finished out the yoke with the lace pattern. I divided for the body and attached it back and got all the way down here. So this is technically where the pattern tells you to stop knitting regularly and start the hem of the shirt or the sweater. And my mom actually wants it a little bit longer so she can kind of French tuck it. And so I'm going to do some more just regular stitching. And my gauge isn't perfect, but this is really fun. It's a lightweight sweater. It's knit on really big needles, so it's very loose and lightweight. This wool is so soft. Oh my gosh, excuse me. This wool is so soft, and it actually looks like a shirt. So I steam blocked it yesterday and had her try it on, and it fits, which is awesome because I did not do a gauge swatch when I started this, but it did kind of open up all of the lace right here, and everything just lays really well, and it is super cute so far. So that was a good project there. It's also nice because this garment is now in a stage where I just knit in the round and I don't have to think about a pattern. I don't have to keep track of anything. So I'm able to take this to work when we have field trips. I do a lot of like walking the kids back and forth between different locations, and I'm able to just kind of mindless knit while I'm doing that. Keeps my hands busy, keeps my brain a little bit more engaged. So I've been bringing this to work over the last few weeks, and it was just nice to do something a little different because I have been so cross-stitch focused. It was just nice to switch it up a little bit. So once that is done, I actually thought, I didn't think I was going to be knitting more of the body on that, so I thought I was closer to a finish than I am. But I went to my local yarn store and I grabbed some more yarn for my next garment. I'm going to be knitting something for me now, and this is going to be a summer shirt. This is the Novelli or Novelli, I'm not quite sure how you say it, top, and the designer will be there as well. But I really wanted to do something different at the colors in this one. So I went to the local yarn store, again with my friend Hannah of Hannah's Horror Corner on Instagram, who is amazing. She has such an eye for color. This color is the West 7th Wool, which is my local yarn store. Their color Marble Falls. And so this is going to be the main body of the shirt. And then for the color work at the bottom, this will be the lighter color and this will be the deeper color, which is this gorgeous warm toned eggplant. And so that is going to be, well, I guess more accurately, it would kind of look like that. But that is the yarn for my summer top. So this is some Peri yarn. I am really good at holding skeins of yarn on camera, obviously. But yeah, that is my new plans moving forward. But obviously we're not there yet. Oh, and then actually this is another cross stitch thing, so whoops, that's on me. But actually on May 1st, I'm going to be starting a Carolyn Manning pattern. Any design from Carolyn Manning Designs. I actually asked you guys to give me your opinion on this in my last video, and overwhelmingly, almost every single comment was like, do Beautiful Blooms. So I'm doing Beautiful Blooms by Carolyn Manning Designs. We're starting on May 1st. It's just a start along. Again, no harsh dates, no things to keep up with. It can be a whip, it can be a new start, it can be whatever you need, whatever you want. But these are my DMCs, again on some Adam Hart acrylic floss drops, floss hearts. And I was stuck between doing this on this fabric, which is Country French Rain, And then this fabric, which is French Country. Country French Rain, French Country. Stiff as a board, feels hand-dyed. Same manufacturer. But I realized when I plugged this pattern into my markup app that actually there are a whole bunch of stitches that are just the fabric. There's actually no thread doing that. It's like kind of the white fill-in around every motif. So I am going to have to nix this blue fabric, which is what I was originally going to choose, and stitch it on the purple in the hopes that the purple will be different enough, because this blue is way too close to one of the called for blue flosses that is directly against one of those no stitch areas. So it just wasn't going to work. So I will either be praying that this works, and if this doesn't work, then I will be filling in those stitches with probably ecru or white or 3865. It'll be one of those, but yeah, that was a little bit of a should have paid more attention, Brijin. So I'm going to be starting it on French Country 16 count Aida, just because it is mostly full coverage and Aida is easier to count on. So if you want to join us, we're going to be using the hashtag Manning SAL and just any Carolyn Manning design. Doesn't have to be anything. I am doing one of the larger ones. I think mine is 177 by 177 stitches, but Marjorie is doing one that's a little bit bigger. She's doing opal. Megan is doing a set of 4 smalls that probably equal one of the larger pieces. She's doing it on this like gorgeous Halloween fabric, and it's going to be very like spooky, and she's going to use them to kind of break up a gallery wall. It's going to be very cool. And then Cam is doing one of her tent maker smalls. So Cam is actually doing the smallest one. Cam is going to beat all of us. But I am actually kind of debating on how I want to stitch that. I'm kind of considering using my Royal Rose method for my full coverage to stitch it and just kind of go across the top and then go down in columns. But I haven't decided yet because it does kind of read like a full coverage. So I guess we'll see what ends up working, or if I just kind of want to color complete a strand of floss at a time until I get somewhere. But that's that. Quilting. Okay, so I was a quilter before anything else. Well, I guess I was a knitter technically first, but whatever. When I got back into crafting as an adult in grad school, quilting is what got me first. Actually, it was crochet and then it was quilting, but I do a lot of things, okay? But I was a quilter before I was a cross stitcher. Quilting is actually what led me into cross stitch, and I have not quilted in about a year. No, that's a lie. I haven't quilted since about November. Just because I haven't, number one, my sewing table has been a hot mess and I haven't been able to like see my sewing machine, let alone sit at it and use it. And then I just wasn't feeling anything else. So I was working on my knitting this week and I wasn't really feeling working on any cross stitch project. I was doing a lot of like kitting and organizing, and by the time I finished that, I didn't want to actually like stitch, you know what I mean? So I decided to pull out some of my English paper piecing. I was working on some English paper pieced flowers for a specific quilt. It's actually like a super easy quilt pattern. It just has a lot of hand sewing in it, which is one way to look at it. I like English paper piecing, but I can't do it for a long time because it hurts my fingers. And so this was a way to do it a little bit and kind of have something with a bit more visual interest, but keeping it a really simple quilt pattern. So this is the Cottonwoods quilt by Liza Taylor Handmade. And you can see all of those flowers in there are hand sewn flowers, which is super, super fun. I am a big proponent of this quilt. I think it lets your fabrics kind of breathe. So if you have patterns that have really big, or quilt fabrics that have really big flowers or really big motifs, this is a great quilt for that. I am using the Gloria fabric line, and the reason that I'm only showing you pictures here is because I actually just sent this quilt off to the quilter. It is done. So I English paper pieced 10 flowers, and then I also sewed them, appliqued them onto their squares, and then sewed those squares into the whole big quilt. So I finished the cutting, the piecing, the English paper piecing, and the applique for this quilt in the last week. Today's Sunday. I finished it on Friday night, sewed my backing fabrics together, packed it all up in a box, and I shipped it out yesterday to my quilter in Waco, Texas. And so I am super, super excited. Here's a picture of the finished quilt top. So she's going to make the quilt sandwich, do the actual quilting, trim it up for me, and put on the binding, because I hate quilt binding with a fiery passion, and I would much rather just pay her like the $20 or whatever it is to put it on for me. So she's gonna do that, and I'm so excited. So this will be the first quilt that I have finished all the way since February of 2022. I've started some more quilts since then, but I have not finished any. So look forward to a little bit more regular quilt content from me. I had started the Socialites number 2 quilt from the Fat Quarter Shop, and I am behind on that quilt along, which I think is actually wrapping up right now. So I need to kick my butt in gear and finish that one. But I have some quilting plans I wanted to tell you guys about. So I mentioned I'm a Swiftie, and I've been trying to find ways to keep the Eras Tour alive for me, even though my tour date is over, and I had an amazing time. So she's been playing these surprise sets, right? So she basically chooses 2 songs in the acoustic set of every show and changes them up. So no one gets repeat songs unless they're from Midnights. And it's been really fun to just like kind of sit on the edge of your toes on the weekends and see which one she picks. And there's a girl on TikTok, I'll put her name here, but she's doing a crocheted blanket for the Eras Tour surprise songs. And my friend Hannah is a crocheter, and so she's going to be doing that blanket. And I wanted to participate in like a blanket along for the Eras Tour surprise sets, but I don't use my crochet blankets very much, and I am a quilter. So I wanted to turn the surprise sets into quilts. So I messed around. I came up with a cool system that I really like. I did the math. I made sure it works. I did a mock-up in my EQ8 quilt software, and I came up with this, which I will be writing out directions for probably later and releasing it as like a pattern. I've never done that before, so you're gonna have to bear with me. But this is what I'm calling my surprise songs quilt. Or surprise set quilt. And it is an economy block-based quilt with some sashing and some cornerstones and a fun pieced top and bottom border. So the top and bottom border sections are the 10 colors of the Eras Tour. And I based these colors off of the actual like hex codes from the Eras Tour poster, which I will throw a picture of that here. So it is much more of these muted tones, but because the blanket is a tour blanket and not like this, which these are the Eras like colors in my mind, but I wanted to go based off of the tour poster since this is a specific tour blanket. And I'm going to actually be embroidering the name of the album on the block of color at the top and bottom of the blanket, a la the embroidery person. I'll put her name here. This is a lot of words, I know. If you guys are keeping up with me, I love you guys. But anyway, I am going to be embroidering the name of the album on like the larger square of that color. And then for every square, that is one concert. And so this is the foundation paper. I love foundation paper. I find it so easy to use. But the inside color will be the first song she plays in the surprise set. And this outside color will be the second song she plays during the surprise set. And the third color on the inside will just be my background color. So every single concert she plays gets a quilt block. There's 52 quilt blocks. It leaves the 4 corner spaces open. I'm probably gonna mess around and play and find something fun to do in there. But yeah, so every week we'll be adding some more here. I am in the process of ordering my fabrics and picking my Eras colors. So once I get those ordered, I only had the idea for this last week. So I had to order some color cards and get everything situated because I don't have a local quilt shop to me. So I have to order everything online. So I am in process with the planning and the execution of this quilt, but look forward to seeing that from me in the future. When the fabric gets here, hopefully later this week or early next week, I will get starched and get started. But again, just because I'm using these foundation papers, It makes it so incredibly easy. You just like cut your fabrics bigger than you need, so you don't have to be exact or anything. You just stick them on and you sew on the lines. And then you just iron it and you're done. So it makes piecing something like a square in a square block, which is a pain in the ass, so easy. So that is my plan there. I have grand plans for that quilt, but I have to pick my colors. So I'm kind of deciding between some grunges or some regular colors and kind of just getting everything I need without knowing my full measurements, because I don't know how much of every color I'm gonna need, because I don't know how much of every song album she's gonna play. But it's been really fun filling it in, waiting for the announcement of whatever song she picks that night. I know the other night, Friday, she played Wonderland and You're Not Sorry. I would have died. But I also found a little bit of a way. You can see in my mock-up here, I've got a heart over one of the sets, and that is actually the show that I was at. So I figured out how to quilt piece a little heart with the red color. And so that's how I'm gonna like differentiate my show from all of the other shows. But it's gonna be a fun blanket. I hope you guys are interested and that you followed along with what I was saying. I know talking about quilts in the abstract without literally anything to show, because it's all at the quilter or I haven't ordered it yet, is weird. So that's the quilt section of today, and the first quilt update since November. A lot of hand sewing. There's actually a hole in the finger of the skin of my middle finger from the hand sewing, which is why I don't English paper piece on the regular, or else I guess I'd have to find like a better thimble. But I hate thimbles. I can't, like, I feel like I'm slowed down so much with them. Okay, so books. Let's chat books. I read 12 books. So I'm going to breeze through them, and I will stop and tell you about the ones that I really liked. There are about 3 in this list that were 5-star reads for me. 3 in this list that I think you should definitely read. One of them was so unexpected, and it's got to be one of my top reads of the year so far. But it is toward the bottom of the list. So let's start off with When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This is a contemporary rom-com. It's very play on Roman holiday with Audrey Hepburn, small town baker, pop star who runs away from the pop star life. It was fun. It was fine. I don't think it's anything like crazy special, but I also just like love, like, I'm not too hard on books. If I had a good time and I enjoyed the story, I'm going to give it a high rating. So this was probably like a 3.5-star read for me, but I really liked it. So if you want like a fun contemporary rom-com that feels very Hallmark, this is your girl. So then I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is a reread for me. I read this for the first time about 2 years ago, but I read it on the tail end of reading the original Shadow and Bone series by Leigh Bardugo, which is fine, but as someone who read it for the first time as like an adult, it wasn't great. And so I was really burned out from that original trilogy when I got to Six of Crows, which is probably the one that everyone likes the best anyway. And I just didn't have a good time, and I never finished the series. So I went back through, and with the re-release of the second season of Shadow and Bone, the TV show, I wanted to read Six of Crows and just kind of wrap my brain around it a little bit more and see if I enjoyed it outside of the original trilogy. And I did. I liked it much more. I think the second book is incredible. The first book is good. I really enjoyed Crooked Kingdom, which I also read. Big fan of Nina and Matthias. And without, giving spoilers or anything, I was angry at the end of Crooked Kingdom. Did not see it coming. Very angry, very sad. I have heard that things improve in the next King of Scars, I think is what it's called. But I haven't read that, and I might need a little bit more of a break from the Grishaverse before I get there. But I did finish it, and I did really think the second book was really good. So that's the end of the Crows duology. Then I read 1,000 Miles to Graceland by Kristen May Chase, which follows a woman who finds out her husband wants a divorce, and so she takes a road trip with her mom for her 70th birthday from El Paso, Texas, all the way to Memphis to go to Graceland because her mom's a big Elvis fan. And so it's a little bit of like healing generational trauma and like getting over your breakup and all of those things. It did, for me, I guess I kind of pictured them being a little bit younger, but for me it did read kind of like what would happen if I went like on a road trip with my grandpa, you know, instead of it being like my mom. But my mom was a huge Elvis fan, and so I was reading it kind of from that perspective, and it didn't really relate as much to me and my mom, but there's also more trauma in that relationship than there is in my relationship. It was a good time. I had fun with it, and yeah. So then I read Dance of a Burning Sea and Symphony for a Deadly Throne by E.J. Mello. This finishes out the Musai series, and they're both available. All three of those books in that trilogy are available on Kindle Unlimited as audiobooks and as ebooks. And I had read Dance of a Burning Sea before, so this is a reread for me. It's a pirate fantasy romance, and Symphony for a Deadly Throne was a read for the first time for me, because back when I read the first two books in the trilogy originally, the third book had not been published. So it felt good to round out that series, finish it out, and be done. I will say the second book is the best of the trilogy, but the third book actually was pretty good. It reads much more as a friends to lovers, and I felt like the trilogy wrapped up and ended in a very nice way. Then I read Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt. This is part of my Taylor Swift reading challenge. So this is for my friends to lovers category recommendation. And I loved it. It follows a stand-up comic who has to fake date her manager, who's also her best friend. And they end up kind of falling in love. So I had a great time with this book. It reads super fast. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and the cover is amazing. So that is one check off of my Taylor Swift checklist. That makes 7 books of my 30 for that challenge complete. And I do highly recommend this one. I don't think it's like the world's most complicated book, you know, like, but I had a great time. I liked it. It was my favorite contemporary romance that I've read in the last few weeks. And I read a few of those. Then I read The Echo of Old Books by Barbara Davis. This is also available on Kindle Unlimited as an audiobook and as an ebook. This book was so surprising. This has to be one of my favorite reads of the year so far. So it is a literary mystery, but also a historical fiction, but also historical fiction within historical fiction. But basically, and a little bit of magical realism too, actually. But it follows a woman in the 80s who comes across these set of books that have been donated that have no publisher information, but the 2 inscriptions on the books that are identically bound read as like an argument. And so she's trying to figure out who the people are in these books, where these books came from, if they're fiction, if they're real, if they're based on anything. But you're also actually reading the book within a book. So like you flip between Ashlyn, who's trying to figure out the mystery of these books, and then the first book, which is written by the character Hemi, and the second book, which is written by the character Belle. So you're reading the books within the book, trying to figure out the mystery. There's lots of layers, there's lots of reveals. It's very, very fun. So there's like a romance that's taking place in the 40s that has imploded, and you're trying to figure out the mystery of that. And then there's also Ashlyn in the 80s dealing with her own life and trauma, and it was so good. And it's, again, Kindle Unlimited, so it's really easy to access, and it was fabulous. I listened to the audiobook. It's got 3 separate narrators. I loved it. I was like, you know, listening to this while I was knitting at like midnight crying, you know what I mean? I could not put it down. I read it so fast. I read only 3 more books, so if you're still here with me, hang in there. I promise I'm almost done. But the first one is actually a series that I started and finished. This is the Frost series by C.N. Crawford, also on Kindle Unlimited. I got a recommendation by Caven Books on TikTok for this one. She said if you like ACOTAR and all of those kinds of things, that this is a good book. So it's a kind of The Bachelor meets ACOTAR. So you got like Fae vibes, but also like a woman who lives in the human world who wasn't raised by the Fae, goes back to the Fae to compete for the throne. And so it's a little bit of like an enemies to lovers, a little bit I don't know, the twist at the end of the book, I kind of saw it coming, but I had a good time with this series. It's a really fast read, and also Kindle Unlimited. I think I said that already, but I read those as ebooks and I enjoyed them. Again, not a complicated time, but a good time. And the last book that I have read in the last 2 weeks, also probably one of my top ones, this is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I picked this up because it was available at my library as an audiobook, and I just needed something to listen to while I was doing some data entry at work and some cleaning. And so this follows a woman, Emma, and her long-lost, presumed dead husband comes back after 5 years, and she has already moved on and gotten engaged to someone else. So it's kind of the implosion of her life, but also her story of falling in love with each of these men and her decision of like, who do you end up with, you know, in this kind of impossible situation. This actually was just adapted into a movie that has started streaming, and so I listened to the entire book during the course of one workday. I came home and watched the movie adaptation the same day, and the movie adaptation is great. It's got Philippa Sue, who I love from Hamilton, and it was a great adaptation of the book. Yeah, so I highly recommend that one. It's short, and it wasn't as emotionally devastating as I thought it would be. There's also a really sweet sister's story wrapped up in the who will she choose, you know, kind of it all. And it's a really different take on a love triangle that you don't really see a lot. But I'm a big fan of the way that Taylor Jenkins Reid writes people, and so there you go. And that is everything. Whew, I read a lot of books this last 2 weeks. But on the bright side, I have caught up on my Goodreads goal, and I am now like a book ahead. So go me, from being 8 books behind to 1 book ahead in the span of 2 weeks is pretty dang great. So looking forward to having a little bit more of a lead on my books, and feeling like I can read stuff that's a little bit longer now to try and relax for that 100 book goal. So as far as like what I'm going to be up to, I'm going to be starting Gentle Rain, and then I'll be starting Carolyn Manning, and I'll be working on the Greenhouse of Oddities and my Arrow's Quaker, and I think that's pretty much going to be all I work on over the next few weeks until I see you again. So a few new plan starts. Nothing should be finished, but I'm not ruling anything out. If I feel called to one of my current whips, I'll work on that, but it seems like it's going to be a month to focus on some new starts and to get some good progress in on these new starts and new stitch-alongs leading into the summer. So I had a really, really good time hanging with you guys today. I know this is probably going to be a little bit of a longer one, but it felt really good to be able to talk about knitting and quilting again, because I do mention a lot that I do a lot of things and I haven't really been walking the walk, you know what I mean? So this is pretty much me. I do a lot of different things and I enjoy a lot of different things, and yeah. So I had a really great time hanging out with you today. I'm gonna go finish my drink and pull out my new start, and I hope you guys have an awesome 2 weeks. I will see you again with my next one, and happy stitching. Bye. That's on me. Dropping things all over the place because it's a new location. Fergus, are you being absolutely helpful right now? We are trying a new filming location, folks, and it's going very well, obviously. Okay, Fergus. You can hang out, but you gotta find a place to just be still.